Hello everyone, can you hear me? Testing, testing. So who's seen this already? No spoilers. Uh-oh. Hello everyone. Get started soon, definitely looking forward to this one. Looks like a very interesting stream. Yeah, well, we'll see. It depends what comes up on the video, you know? I haven't seen it. Okay, guys, so welcome to the Witcher 4 watch party. We're going to be watching a tech demo slash release thing. I guess that's how they do it nowadays. Very interesting. So we'll dive into that a bit later. For those that are kind of trickling in from like Witcher binge watching and stuff like that, my background is I've worked in the games industry for over a decade. So I'm a games art director working on all the way back from UDK, Unreal Engine 3, 4, 5. I've worked with the environments teams on landscapes. I've built teams of artists to actually create major projects. And this channel is all about getting people into the games industry who are interested in game art. So as part of that, I teach at university over the last 6 years on game art. And I've got hundreds of students who are actively in the games industry. So today we're going to watch through this tech demo. I haven't seen it. And basically we'll see what comes out of it. I'm looking forward to see what tech they're showing. Obviously, as a Witcher fan myself, I'm really excited to see what's going to be inside the game if they're showing that sort of stuff. But basically, I'm going to give you a behind the scenes sort of like demonstration of the technicals and anything that I can think of from my experience in working in games. So we'll open it up into a questions and answers, so you can ask things specifically about The Witcher or how games are developed. And hello to everyone. How are we all doing today? So some people have been holding off themselves. All right, let's get into it. So I think it's this one. When it was first released yesterday, I saw the IGN pop up, and now there's a new one, this 1.2 million. So I guess we'll watch this one. It's very popular. So tell me how the audio is, and yeah, I'll pause it if there's anything sort of interesting to do with the tech or anything that is really notable, and I'll see what your questions are in the chat. I don't know what's going on here. That was like a Modern Warfare 2 montage intro. Like...
Sleep is he, the ploughing plonker. Break me pearlies on this blasted pit-ridden trap.
Not actual gameplay footage at the bottom. Can you see that? Talk about that later.
With fear not dry room. Aye, the devil's after you.
This is how Skyrim started. Say a lot, but I want the drama to play out first. Oh shit.
Salt. Almost had me fooled, Fruin.
Siri meta-human. Oh, nice. I missed that. Okay, so very interesting. I think nowadays what we've got is bordering the line of like actual gameplay and cinematics. So because Unreal Engine is basically turning into a CG developer, we're sort of blowing the lines between what is like a cinematic, like you would see with a traditional film. So I wouldn't want people to think that like when they go in the game that they can see this, but vistas like this is probably quite accurate to how it is inside of game. We've also got to appreciate that it's a technical demo. So they've cranked all the engine innies, which is like the qualities, like how expensive the game run is. So like they'll try and max out like 60 frames per second. So those are just things to be aware of. But we can, in Unreal Engine, like we can achieve it pretty close. Straight away, it's already got the vibe of Unreal Engine. Like Unreal Engine always has that ghost. And from what I remember in The Witcher 3, it's completely lost its kind of like saturated vibe that I used to like. We'll see what we'll see what they say. Hey Marcus. Hey drunken meat. Hey.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the State of Unreal at Unreal Fest Orlando. We're here to show you what's next with Unreal Engine and so much more. We are thrilled that you're able to join us. Thank you. But first things first, I'm here with Sebastian and Kaitek from CD Projekt Red. We have a lot to talk about.
Witcher times hey Unreal, do you see that on the t-shirt?
Hey,
nice.
Thank you, Wyatt.
They forced them to wear that.
Thank you, Wyatt, and hello, everyone. With The Witcher 4, we're stepping things up. And to do that, we needed the right partner. One that truly understands that great open-world games are all about art and technology coming together.
Yeah, and look, our goals are completely aligned here. And around the launch of UE5, your awesome team at CD Projekt Red announced a collaboration to make open-world development in Unreal even better. And it's an opportunity, we just couldn't pass it up. So we've been working on a technical demo together to achieve just that. I think we should take a look at it. You guys ready?
Born ready. Kaitek is going to play the build for us.
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah, the pressure of playing a game like that, like in front of everyone. Yeah, so it's interesting. A comment on how companies like combine together. Unreal Engine's definitely been pushing grants. Like I've received that on projects before and worked behind the scenes. So yeah, we're entering a new age where it's like a combination of marketing. So it's interesting that they released it like this tech demo before anything else. So we're sort of like seeing them both at the same time. Let's see what the actual gameplay's like.
This is a technological showcase set in the world of The Witcher 4.
I'll just pause it here. So straight off the bat, there's quite a few things. So like with characters, when we're simulating cloth, obviously you guys, we talked a lot about that. there's going to be loads of geometry here. And so, like, to support the vertices moving around with, like, particle systems, we need a lot of vertices. What I really like about this, it depends how well it comes off in the game. I'm assuming this is still a cinematic, but having, like, frayed cloth on a simulation is really difficult because we've got, like, floating bits of geometry. So for a simulation team and animation team, it's really hard to, like, get that all connected into one. So I'd love to see sort of close-up cinematics when it does come out for the game.
What you just saw and are going to see now is running on a standard PlayStation 5 at 60 FPS with ray tracing. So in the game, you'll be playing as Ciri, a professional monster slayer, a witcher. She explores the world and hunts down monsters for coin. The region we are in.
So they definitely put those rocks there to show off the animation and rigging and how it can contact with the world. It's very similar to like previous Unreal Engine tech demos. So usually these guys have to hit like key points inside the tech demo. So this entire sort of like level playout is built to showcase the features that are all going to come out of Unreal Engine. So I'm assuming they're going to show some sort of like world dynamics, advanced rigging systems or simulation, maybe some volumetric stuff, but that's my prediction because I know how these sort of work.
It's called Covier, and you'll get to explore it in a game. Right now, Ciri is investigating a monster, and after gathering new clues, she is heading back to a nearby village.
It's like The Witcher 3. It's the same like Griffin thing.
All
I
right,
like it.
everyone, meet Kelpie.
Kelpie.
Let weeds be weeds, Kelpie.
So just like Geralt had Roach, Ciri has her own loyal companion.
We return to town.
It looks very Unreal Engine,
Needs to
like
feel like
the
one.
face and
Since
everything.
you're gonna explore the world on horseback, riding needs to feel seamless, natural, and just fun.
Yeah, and to support that, we're introducing multi-character motion matching in Unreal. So Ciri.
So you can pause it here. We look at the landscape. Thanks for subscribe. And we've definitely got tessellation activated here, or maybe even they're using Nanite. I'd like to see if they're actually using Nanite in the real game. I highly doubt it. So while it is a cool feature, they'll turn on all the bells and whistles for like these gameplay cinematics. But in game, I doubt there's going to be sort of like Nanite features. It really depends. But it's looking good. Probably lacking like some density, like fog density. That's the only thing I would think about it. You know, which always had that kind of like lurky vibe.
Perfectly synchronized when mounting from any angle and speed. And we also support root motion movement on Kelpie, so controlling her feels realistic and grounded. And there are also some really nice improvements to our Unreal Chaos Flesh Solver and these machine-learned deformations. So you've got realistic muscles moving and stretching under Kelpie's skin without compromising the performance there.
Okay. All right. Interesting. That kind of comes off a little bit like a car advert or a phone advert or something. Now, yeah. I don't know how necessary this is for a horse. Like, if you look at this horse compared to like Red Dead Redemption, it's definitely comparable. And I don't think like anyone going around the world is going to be looking at this horse and saying that's kind of unrealistic. I think this is definitely just like a technical flex, and they're just trying to integrate it somehow. But if for true game devs, like we would only do as much that is necessary for the game player. So unless it's a problem, there's no point fixing it. In the game, this could be useful. Let's say if the horse took damage, then the muscles interactions can like wobble. Usually see that with like jiggle physics on like stomachs and stuff. So I'm not sure how necessary this is, but also at the same time, from the back end, I appreciate why they've done it because it's a tech demo and they have to basically like show off those features. It just doesn't work on a horse because there's so much fascia and muscles, and they don't actually move that far outside of the animation range. Like an animator can simulate all this quite easily and bake it in. It looks cool. It looks cool though.
So let's leave Ciri behind for a second and talk about the world itself. So much of the Witcher world is natural, organic, especially Kovir with its dense forest and wild nature.
Yeah, and wild nature is hard. And with Nanite geometry, we've freed artists from so many of their old constraints. But we don't want to rest until everything we do in Unreal has that same spirit of freedom. There's always more work to do. And Foliage is a huge piece of that puzzle. So we are excited to introduce Nanite Foliage. And in order to achieve gorgeous foliage density everywhere, while still being memory efficient, fast to render, we believe that a new idea was needed. So instead of the same card approach we've been using for the past 20 years, artists should be free to take a nanite approach to foliage, modeling every single leaf and pine needle. And the old
Okay, they managed to do it. I'm actually super surprised because the kind of like memory budgets and the disk size and the management behind that is extremely complicated. So I understand that, yeah. Witcher going to Unreal Engine, I bet you it's purely based on the size of the world. And their older foliage was pretty good. Like, I remember that being like some of the highest quality foliage that I've seen in terms of cards. So for you guys, like traditionally we'd have LOD systems with cards. We'd sort of make a branch and leaf set, bake it down, have opacity, and then place them on branches. And traditionally we'd use something like speed tree. But nowadays we just physically create the geometry and it all gets condensed down into Nanite. Super impressed they've managed that on an open world system. I'd like to see how big the map is. But then again, like Unreal Engine's partition system for landscapes, I've seen that develop all over time also with the foliage. The new edition of Nanite and landscape is like mental. You'll see a lot of people coming over to Unreal Engine to actually benefit from that open world.
LOD tricks of the past, they needed a complete rethink. And in their place
Looks
is
very
a
nice.
new adaptive voxel representation in Nanite. It's volumetric, it's fully 3D,
Minecraft.
it is super fast to render. And these dense clusters of triangles turn into these cubes, which at a distance, they're no larger than a pixel, and they react to the changing light of our dynamic sun and our shadows, and they allow artists to render whatever amount of foliage is needed to achieve their vision without compromise.
And no compromise means how ambitious we are when it comes to bringing our vision to life with incredible visuals. But more than that, together with Epic, we created faster way to load the world. We can now bring in more content more quickly for the smoothest possible experience as we fly down to catch up with Siri.
Oh, yeah. So one of the questions is why not use Nanite for games? It was more of a question of whether they wanted to actually pivot all the way over to Nanite, and I'm surprised they were that ambitious to actually go ahead and do it. They probably got a lot of backing from Unreal Engine with the sort of like unlimited amount of money. But what he mentioned on, I think with games in the past with like the LOD systems, we were always restricted on the amount of assets that we could put into the world. So foliage and environment systems always didn't look that great because it was so sparse and empty. Like you'd always see these like blank textures. We'd have to cull them, so like take them out of the viewport momentarily just to like save on frames. But now with the advent of Nanite, we can just like preload, we can just smash everything in there. It's always going to be there. It's not going to disappear. It's just going to sort of fade off into the distance. So you can see that here, like everything's a lot more dense. But also at the same time, again, appreciate that this isn't gameplay footage. So when people are playing, you know, they're like diving out the way of a monster. Animation characters, they're all running at the same time in like big worlds. Sometimes we can't have this much of a luscious environment. So it is heavily focused on this tech demo, and I would love to see it compared to how it actually is in like a playing game scenario.
Welcome to Valdrest. So Valdrest is a port town, a hub for fishing, trade and mining. It's one of those places where you can meet shady characters or overhear gossip from other lands. It's also where Ciri took on her current contract. High-tech, let's leave Kelpie here and explore the marketplace and food.
And the missus?
I'm so excited we can finally show you some of this stuff. Let's see.
So the thing to look out here while you go through this market scene is like how unique everyone's animations are. and that's an indication of sort of like how advanced. So there's a guy climbing up a ladder, they've got a woman turning around. Just like notice what everyone's doing and how they're doing it. That would be interesting to see.
What Baldur's has to offer.
Not her again.
Not even at the land Exeter Fair. Nine gazes.
I just pause it here. This is extremely impressive. So making a bear that looks good with fur has notoriously been very difficult, hence the hair cards. Nanite hasn't been aced on sort of like animatable things just yet, so I suspect they're using advanced shaders or floating hair cards. We'll see what they say on it. But this bear looks really cool, like the shaders working well, but Unreal Engine was always good at that kind of those hair shaders. From what I remember with the traditional Witcher, it didn't come off that good. Like a lot of the rendering didn't come off very good inside of Witcher, but it still had that like heavy saturated and stylistic almost like vibe to it, which I liked. It now seems that we're getting a bit more Unreal realism, and that's really the only thing that Unreal's good at, is like a high level of realism.
I present him with a fish. For the furry rascal will often wink, and the bear's weight grants good fortune.
Pardon.
Guys, notice how...
Okay, I knew that was going to happen. I thought he dropped the box and it would shatter into a particle effect, but
even setting off chain reactions. Everything is working together. Oh, look at this poor gentleman being taught how to fly by an angry innkeeper. That's what happens when you cheat at Gwent.
Last of it, is it? Ready to wait.
Round ones, what jingle in the purse.
Okay, so this is the guy who gave the series quest his own. Like you probably suspect, he has his own agenda in all of this.
You're off your tits again, Wilfred. Get your ass up.
A typical day's toil.
Who in? Witcheress. One using my wagons. No eternity is taking
More nice
that
photo.
damn salt to arrive.
I found them. And, well...
okay, so something here you'll see.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember the old Witcher, but like when hair used to cross maybe some armor, there used to be loads of problems. And I seem to remember there was a sort of subsurface problem where you'd have some like yellow integration around the edge of the skin, and like hair depth of field always looked very scattered, like it would often break. So luckily Unreal Engine is like super good at that sort of stuff. So we'll just replay what I saw here, and it integrates it all at once. So we've got a bit of like cloth dynamic that's actually like going across the armor,
So this is the...
and then obviously we can look at the hair at the same time as well. So with this guy,
Again, Wilfred.
in the sort of like real-time state, his cloth is moving around. It's probably lower quality, and then potentially depends how the cinematic switches. This will all be real time, so they're not
Typical
switching
day's
anything
toil.
out.
Who in? Witcheress. One using
And
my
he's
wagons.
not.
No
The
eternity.
contacts are really strong. The cloth is sort of like adaptively like stretching and closing, so you'll see a lot of geometry on there to sustain that. How expensive that is for like a real-time gameplay scenario is yet to be seen.
Is taking that damn salt to arrive.
I found them. And,
Another thing in games, really, sorry for stopping it so many times, but like when you have hair that has leather straps around it, we usually try and avoid that because there's a lot of interaction and overlapping that happens with the hair. And if players notice that, it's like really not a cool effect. So I'm super surprised to see that there's leather bands on the hair braid here. That's super ambitious for the character team. And yeah, they probably worked quite hard on that. So we'll see if there's any sort of like
suffice to say,
cutting in.
they'll not reach you. As for the salt, I found not one speck. I presume this comes as no surprise to you. Now. Kavir's smuggling trade is of no concern to me.
Shush, shush, shush.
The manticore that flattened your cart and devoured your men? Quite the opposite.
Manticore? No, no, them winged hellspawn dwell in the arse end of Creighton, not here.
While Siri decides what to do about that merchant, let's take a look at the character technology that powers this marketplace.
Oh yeah.
Why don't we listen in on these fishmongers? They're selling their wares, chatting up customers.
Morning, catch this is. Won't find none fresher.
Reckon me ladies after one of
Curse. Get this cleaned and gutted for you. You mind, dearest? Into seeing something more. Got mackerel cod, all Brexit's finest.
And there is tons of tech at play here, even in this simple market stall. Metahuman tools, improved Unreal smart objects, chaos cloth, and more.
Yeah, and all of this exists to make sure that the gap in quality between Siri and NPCs is.
If I go through Witcher as a developer, because I know metahumans so well, and if I see some metahumans, like all the defaults just like slightly adapted and changed, it's gonna ruin the effects for me. Because like when I'm looking at portfolios and stuff, I'm now starting to see a lot of metahuman portfolios and like all these sorts of things. So I guess for you guys who are like looking to get into the industry, try and avoid the metahuman trap. Like we obviously want to make more bespoke stuff, but it'd be interesting to see if you just see like loads of floating metahuman defaults in The Witcher 3. That would really take the dream out for me.
Closing that gap, it's not just about fidelity, right? But also authenticity. They should react to changes in the world around them.
But the prisoner in Pillory isn't exciting enough for Wildrest. Let's grab everyone's attention with a circus. But the great performance deserves a huge crowd though. Let's crank it up.
So the big thing you'll see that's different from like the last Witcher and Witcher inside of Unreal Engine is how smooth the animations are. And it's not something that you'll see like straight away, but so much work has been put into like blending animations, also dynamically. So I really can't. I don't know if there's fighting in here, but if I see a fighting scene of like how Siri's like moving around and like how the animals are moving, that's gonna feel really fluid. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. But if you watch here, you'll see already like the mocap translation is like super strong. And any errors inside of the mocap, you know, when it's not feeling that great, it's going to be fixed on Unreal Engine side, and we can basically like change and adjust it inside of the engine.
So
I'm going to make a random prediction as well. It'll be a big prediction, but there might be some sort of like Unreal Engine version of Witcher that they'll release, and then people can go in and sort of like make their own things, maybe edit some stuff. Like that's usually the next branch of like software developers. So that's my prediction. I don't know if it comes true.
Tons of optimizations here to many of Unreal systems, including an entirely new Unreal animation framework, allowing us to fit easily in our 60 FPS budget, not just in rendering, but also with room to spare on the game thread. Over 300 animated skeletal mesh agents, all going about their business.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The whole point is to leave breathing room for developers like you to introduce the gameplay and the systems that your players expect, empowering you to make your worlds come to life without Unreal standing in your way.
You're right. That's the open world RPG that we're making. But before we wrap up, how about one final check-in with Siri? We are making this game to be the most immersive and ambitious open world Witcher game ever. And we are making this a reality thanks to our work on Unreal with the team at Epic. I think what we're doing together is going to bring in a new generation of open world RPGs, and I'm so proud of what we accomplished so far.
We are too.
So we're almost done, but before we go, here's a small gift for all Witcher fans. A first look at Lanexeter.
Onward, Kelby. We what?
Okay, cool. Not as much as I was hoping to see with the Witcher stuff. I think how they've set it off here, maybe in the gameplay demo, they are then going to go into like they did with the Griffin last time. It seemed like a natural flow from this. So trying to get in the mind of their release, I think that's potentially what they might be doing. So yeah, guys, any questions on that that pop into your head? My first kind of thoughts with it as the landscape systems. So even over the last couple of months, landscapes have been developing, and I've been working on loads of different environments. I have friends who are working on environment teams, and it's really fresh, like all the landscape stuff and the tiling, like having a very big open world and having it work sort of like nicely with Nanite. There's been loads of problems along the way, so I kind of feel that they might be working on a different sort of like featured version of this. And sometimes what you find with like major games projects is that the games engine will be working with the games team, and when the games teams ask for a request, they'll then put that feature in, and so they let the actual like AAA products lead the software development. So that happened in the past with a couple of stuff we were working on. Is like we would want a feature, or like usually in the past it would be a bug, and then we'd go back to the team and they would basically like insert that functionality into the engine. So yeah, you can be rest assured that Witch is going to be pioneering sort of like big landscape open world systems, because I can't think of any other bigger game on Unreal Engine that's doing that. So yeah, I don't know if there are any other videos that we can watch. I don't know if there's sort of like a gameplay trailer, or your guys' thoughts. So let's see the questions. So the horse looks fantastic. Yeah, with the horse, let's go see it.
Awesome team.
I try and keep it like realistic and a bit and honest. Like with that horse,
Any angle.
where you're going to be seeing it is potentially here, like maximum, when you're zooming around, like with the analog stick, or maybe in a very bespoke cinematic. I'm not too sure like all these features are gonna enhance it. The shade is definitely nicer than it was in other engines. So we've got like advanced material systems in Unreal Engine to like utilize. So that's super nice. But yeah, nothing different than I would expect out of like Red Dead Redemption. You know, those look pretty good, and they're probably doing it at less of an expense to like the GPU. And as game artists, that's what we really want. This has kind of got like a bit of a CG film vibe with CG features in Unreal Engine. But like with games, we just want to make it like minimum viable, as cheap as possible, so we get the most frame rates and like the best user experience for the player. So Marcus cheated and watched the video yesterday. And when the bear showed up, I immediately thought about the comments about the fur. Yeah, we were literally only talking about this the other day, weren't we? About fur technology and where to best go with it. Obviously, there's going to be loads of like griffins and furry monsters and creatures inside of Unreal Engine. Definitely, my experience has been creating creatures and like taking lead on that. So one problem we often would have is the fur. So I'd like to see like a close-up of the creatures there. But there is, guys. That's basically the watch party for The Witcher 4. Unless there are any other final questions, I'm going to head off. Or if you guys know of any other releases that I don't know of, might be fun to watch some Witcher 3 stuff potentially and compare it. Okay, Witcher 3. Interesting. So it's 10 years ago that the Wild Heart official gameplay trailer. So let's have a look through this one. It's 37 minutes long, so I mean, we'll get to
my name is
get to the best stuff.
I'm a senior level designer at CD Projekt Red, and I would like to welcome you to an
So the thing is, like, it looks good. Like they use their engine really well, and like when you know your engine inside out, you can make pretty striking things. So with the Batman, like, you know, Batman was built on Unreal Engine 3, and basically by the time Unreal Engine 4 came out, they just kept their old systems, and it still was comparable to Unreal Engine 4. So I'm hoping that there isn't like a technological restriction when it does come to Witcher 4, because, you know, what they had was pretty good. Obviously we can you can see stuff like this. So maybe looking back, it is actually quite bad. So this is a common issue, like classically with cards. You don't get that with Nanite. And so the artist has probably put on a form of subsurface scattering. And then when you have a directional sunlight, the casting of shadows is very expensive. So on older systems, we potentially would have turned that off. And then what's happened here is the light that isn't getting shadowed is hitting that material. It's lighting up with subsurface scattering and illumination, and it's giving it an unrealistic feel. So that's one of the problems with cards. In the future, well, when we moved over to Unreal Engine 4, there were loads of little tricks that we could use to fix this. So we'd use like dispersion, so it doesn't look like it's going into the ground so much. Sometimes we would just like turn off the intensity of subsurface scattering. So there was all these like little hacks that you could do, so you wouldn't get this jelly look. But it's nice looking back at it. I remember when this came out and this was like insane. And this is official Witcher, so this isn't some guy who's like lowered his quality. It's like these were the problems we have had.
Woke, I went to empty my bowels. My favourite, eh?
Witcher 3 was always like quite strong at facial animations. I know it looks like weird nowadays, but it
Johnny.
kind of had an okay style for the amount of like quantity they got out in the animations compared to games at that time. Like the facial animations were obviously all right. There was also this uncanny acceptance that like we knew that it was a game and the facial features looked kind of funny, but it wasn't taking away from like the immersive experience. So my concern with like Witcher 4 is potentially with Unreal Engine we're getting a bit too close to the uncanny valley, and you'll see this kind of like floaty vibe with the face, and it's like melting into like different poses, and that's not what happens with facial animations.
Calm down, Gran. Don't get angry. It's not good for you.
The woman I asked about earlier.
Forgive me, Gran, but this...
So this is what I was talking about with the 4 tech demo, is like there wasn't any depth of field with the fog or anything like that, like fog density, which is a bespoke thing with Unreal Engine. Is like the fog's really powerful, so I'm surprised they didn't give that like depth in the light. Well, you'll also find, so there's if we look back at the newest demo, I noticed this, but I didn't say it live because there was too much things to say. But if you listen out, like where Geralt's putting his foot, the material changes and the sound changes. And one of the most powerful things in Unreal Engine and it's completely overlooked, is like the sound design and how it all blends in with contact materials. So we could listen here, like when he's on water, it will suddenly switch to the ground, and then it'll have that like really jarring feel. But in Unreal Engine and Unreal Engine 5, like all those footsteps are going to be blended nicely depending on what they're stepping on. The attenuation is going to change, like where they are, if it's like more open and stuff. So it might be worth watching The Witcher 4 again and just like listening to what's going on, because that's really overlooked and really what sells a game when people are playing. So So I could talk endlessly about this. So sometimes in fighting games, we have to make the animation really feel well with the gameplay. We can do things like zero frame animation, where a character just like pops into a state, and it gives the player a better feeling of responsiveness. So when they do something, that the character just like dives into animation. I'll be interested to see if Unreal Engine 5 is kind of like restricting that vibe. So if it does sometimes feel like a little bit too fluid in the animation, it gives the illusion to the player like they don't have like responsive feedback. I know it sounds weird, but if you imagine something that's kind of like just floating into different states, while it looks good from the third party, like if you're watching a Twitch stream or something, when you're playing it, it's like a completely different experience. So that was something nice with Unreal Engine 3. It was like really snappy and responsive. Didn't look as fluid, but I suspect that might be a problem for them in the future. You see how it sort of like snaps everywhere? So the camera changes during combat, like obviously when you're doing the fire and stuff. That's going to be really cool in Unreal Engine, because you can like wobble the camera, like the cinematics of camera usage. You saw it in the tech demo, is super strong. So that would be interesting to see. So let's see if there's anything we missed. Any specific questions, guys? I know some of you sort of like joining late and stuff. It just looks like an Unreal Engine tech demo, like mega scans. It's quite funny. One thing I noticed way at the start, and this is a problem with character armor. So this guy, and we talk about this a lot in like a lot of the sessions of how to make good armor. See if I can find it.
On this the plowing plonker.
Watch for him. So this guy's got like hard armor all around his torso, and so when he's bending over, like the mocap studio's bending him over, you'll see that all the metal's like deforming. It'll be really quick, but like that's obviously layered armor.
Break me pearlies on this blasted pit-ridden tract.
So yeah, you see his side torso extends, his middle torso sort of like constricts, and it just stretches the metal out. So I'm surprised, like with the amount of expense we can put into Unreal Engine, like I'm surprised they didn't divide that up and just left it like the classics. So yeah, I mean, there's this, especially for a cinematic, like you might as well put it into additional layers, because you can do it. Like you've got so many more bones that we can use, so many more simulations. So I think they've missed out on a trick there that they could potentially have used.
With fear on dry road.
The devil's out.
To render.
Another comment on the lighting system. So one of the most powerful things inside of Unreal Engine is like day-night systems. Like everything is utilized around it. So I'll be interested to see how that is with the gameplay. Classic Witcher, what they used to do was you just slightly change the tint of like the massive dynamic light. And to be honest, it looked pretty good. But here we can change like different systems. It'll be closer to like Red Dead Redemption and how those weather systems happen, because that's the modern way of doing it. So we changed the dynamic light, the sky volumetrics. What they didn't cover here, maybe it wasn't so interesting for like the consumer, but all these clouds could potentially be based on volumetrics. So when they do things like they can curl around mountains, or if they go through trees, they're not going to have contact, that interlacing contact. So it'll be interesting to see what other Unreal Engine tech they bring into it. So obviously the muscles are all flashy, and like there's the flashy stuff that's come out lately, but there's still loads of Unreal content that's legacy, which is still really interesting. So maybe we could do like a deep dive into that a bit later.
whatever amount
Yeah,
of
the
foliage
cape
is
mesh.
needed
We can
to
go
achieve
into
their
that.
vision.
Obviously, you see a couple of frames, and then there's so much that could be talked about. Okay, let's have a look.
What you just saw and are going to see now is running on a standard.
Yeah, that cape's really good. That's really strong. I'd like to know if they're also utilizing animated normals at the same time, because it seems that there's sub ripples going on in there, and I know for a fact there isn't that much geometry to do that level of detail for a ripple. So the macro movement will be held by the geometry.
So in the game, what you just saw and are going to see now is running on standard PlayStation 5 at
you see those
60
sub
FPS
ripples
with ray tracing. So in the game, you'll be playing as Siri.
You can see them here as well. Yes, that's basically like normal maps, like floating across, and it might have an interaction with how the cloth is moving itself.
She explores the world and hunts down monsters for coin. The region we are in is called Covier.
And a lot of students have actually asked this recently. Is like, how do they manage cloth thickness, right? So if you look here, we've obviously got a trim piece, which is just like covering it, so we don't have to deal with the cloth thickness. But I'm worried for them with this, because if this is floating geometry, it's just going to like intersect.
So in the game, you'll be playing as Siri, a professional monster.
But what they've done, they've probably made it thick enough so no matter where it's moving, it looks okay from a distance. That's what I suspect. So the way the geometry works on this, the character team, the concept team, the tech team would have all worked together. They would have said, right, we're for sure having the two swords in this diagonal. So the top left of the cloth is going to be like static and baked. And then halfway through that sword intersection, they'll be turning that geometry into simulation. So the entire design, and this is what I teach to everyone, is like, first we think about the technical design before we jump into a character. So you have to design it in a way where all the tech is working and it's not breaking. So it's nice that they've kept it nice and simple. Like if you imagine she had like a knife pouch at the back of her sort of area, that's going to cause loads of problems with the cloth simulation. So we want to solve it on paper first.
What you just saw and are going to see now is
even more features I can think of. We do this in loads of other Unreal games. So let's say Siri goes into some mud. We can definitely cast that up her clothing, like, and on the cape as well. We can all do that material based. So I want to see like a fight in like a swamp. I want to see the water like coming up and changing the cloth, because these are just such easy features that we put in Unreal Engine.
Running on a standard PlayStation 5 at 60 FPS with ray tracing.
Never be tricked when they say that. That's yeah, it's not gameplay.
So in the game,
a PlayStation is a little computer. Think of it like that. So if you target a very high quality gameplay trailer for a small computer, it's always going to look good.
You'll be playing as Siri, a professional monster slayer, a witcher. She explores the world and hunts.
So we have snow down here. There's going to be, I suspect, there'll be like tessellated snow. So I suspect with the environment, she's coming out of a snow area into like a more temperate one. So I can predict there's going to be snowy landscapes. When she's walking through it, that snow's going to crumple. The geometry is going to come down. So I'm trying to like predict all the features that they're going to try and hit in Unreal Engine.
The region we are in is called Covier, and you'll get to explore it in a game. Right now, Siri is investigating a monster, and after gathering new clues, she is heading back to a nearby village.
So all the foliage is nanite, but I'm not convinced that like it's that much better than cards. Cards got really good.
All right, everyone, meet Kelpie.
Kelpie's also a terrible name for a horse. Like, sounds like I don't know, some lettuce thing or something. Roach was like really like, Kelpie's a bit, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
Companion.
Too many syllables.
We return to town.
These two characters need to feel like one. Since you're gonna explore the world on horseback.
This will be good to listen out for the sound. So listen out for the sound.
Riding this
how it changes where she's walking.
And just fun.
Yeah, and to support that, we're introducing multi-character motion matching in Unreal. So Ciri and Kelpie, they're perfectly synchronized when mounting from any angle and speed. And we also support root motion movement on Kelpie, so controlling her feels realistic and grounded. And they're also...
Hey, I kind of missed that, like, and didn't consider when mounting the horse, the rope motion will be really fluid, and that could solve some like annoying gameplay features. I don't know if you've ever tried to mount a horse when the environment's like a bit rough, or like the horse is slightly on an angle and then you get on it, it just looks all weird. Unreal Engine's, it's going to solve all that. So whether the horse is like moving and the different, you can imagine all the different scenarios of getting on a horse, like if you're on a slope or if Ciri's like a little bit higher than the horse and stuff like that. Everything's going to be solved like quite dynamically, so that could be quite cool. Like, horses in games are notoriously really frustrating because they're always just like bumping into stuff. You try and get on it, you can't like really reverse it.
Some really nice improvements to our Unreal Chaos Flesh Solver and these machine-learned deformations. So you've got realistic muscles moving and stretching under Kelpie's skin without...
So you can have a look at the state of Unreal if you're after some more. It's up to you guys. So should we move on to State of Unreal? Let's have a look. Two hours. Like, maybe if there's a condensed version. MetaHuman official Unreal Fest. You could look at the highlights.
Hey everyone, get ready to build bigger and create faster.
I read all the tech releases, so I already know what's up.
Create 60 FPS open worlds that run seamlessly on current generation hardware. Illuminate richly detailed environments with hardware ray tracing enhancements that boost Lumen Global illumination performance. Stream geometry faster for smoother loading of massive static worlds.
Yeah, the ray is going to look so good in Witcher 5.
Visually edit animations with an intuitive redesign of motion trails.
There you go, this is stuff I was talking
precisely
about.
fine-tune animation with revamped tween tools and a redesigned, optimized curve editor. For unmatched realism in your character animation, check out the new physics control rig. New physics control rig.
Normal.
MetaHuman Creator is now embedded right in Unreal Engine, with new features for authoring high-fidelity faces, bodies, and clothing.
This doesn't make you a character artist, guys.
We've
Remember that.
redesigned the content browser for faster, smarter asset management workflows. Plus, get instant access to key tools right through the Viewport's toolbar. Preview PCG elements in real time using the new 3D Viewport. And enjoy smoother, more efficient GPU spawning at runtime. Discover more of what's new in Unreal Engine 5.6 on our website.
Okay, I don't know how they... Maybe I'll look a little bit into the 2-hour one. There wasn't anything that's sort of like screaming at me there.
...in Nanite. It's volumetric.
Thanks to assembly, we greatly reduce the storage, the runtime
Here goes this
memory,
Nanite
and
foliage.
the rendering cost. Then, to display an entire forest, the challenge was to preserve fidelity and performance from any distance. Let's check up close the level of detail we're talking about here. Lots of details. But this triangle representation is not the most efficient when far away, due to the amount of overlapping. And that's why we made an adaptive voxel representation. But in reality, you'll never see those voxels this close, since when we move the camera back, they're barely a pixel. Nanite Foliage is almost done. We are moving it to the mainline as we speak, and it will be available for everyone in 5.7. Another thing I would like to share is that ray tracing and Lumen now run more than twice as fast, with no visual trade-off compared to when UE5 was released. And because
Oh, we got the cloth. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so you can see the outlines there. This purple one will be sort of like a static blocker. I doubt there's, unless they're like animating anything or simulating under there.
Even for complex setup like Seriescape, we hit a sub-millisecond budget on PS5. With Chaos Flesh, we introduce procedural muscle activations to make deformation and motion more natural. Your artist will still have control over tetrahedral simulation and train ML models that run fast in real time. We now support the baking of fluid surface data.
Let's see what they say about the... Oh, hello. This is cool. Yeah, so this has always been difficult, like simulating water flow. We'd have to put in like flow maps. It was so frustrating. We'd almost have to like employ someone whose sole job was like experienced with that, because we'd have to make the meshes and just crazy. This is cool. Seems like they've
this is going to give
really made
high fidelity water without the performance cost of real-time fluid simulation. For animation, we work on both performance and fidelity. Here, you can see how Siri and Kelpie match up in their interaction. Well, that works no matter the angle of approach. That's our Modes character motion matching solution.
Okay, there's a demo of what we're talking about.
In sequencer to build stitch tracks. With them, you can seamlessly transition from gameplay to cinematic. Also, we now have a secondary layer of animation driven by physics in Control Rig. We used it in Kelpie's rig to drive the mane, the tail, and the side.
Have a look at the
and now, I'm happy.
Big animations here, so
muscles moving.
crowds.
To introduce the gameplay. Thanks, guys.
Oh, look at this poor gentleman being taught how to fly by an angry innkeeper.
Devoured your men? Quite the opposite.
Manticore? No, them winged hellspawn dwell in the arse end of Creighton.
Outrest. Let's grab everyone's attention with a circus. Open world RPG that we're making. But before we wrap up, how about one final...
Yeah, no new information there. Okay, I think we've just looked at everything physically possible, made a couple of predictions. I definitely think they're going to release the editor to people in the future. Maybe that's in like a good couple of years. They would be missing a trick there, especially because metahumans being more accessible by everyone. I think that's going to be like an on-branch to playing the game. So unless there are any final questions based on this, thanks for coming and joining on the watching party. Hopefully more Witch stuff will come out and we can like deep dive into it more. I did some GTA ones, so maybe they'll come up with some new technologies and we can dive into that. If you guys are in the process of like creating your portfolio, maybe you think you're sort of like 80% towards getting your job, and want to reach out to me, look below, and in the description there's a chance to book a one-on-one call with me, and basically we'll get you into the industry a lot quicker. Usually what I find with artists, they basically like extend it out over like 4 years, working on unnecessary characters and all these different sort of things. So you want to get in as quick as possible, earning in the industry as possible, and if that sounds nice to you, then definitely see if you qualify for booking a call. So thanks for turning up, and enjoy the rest of your days, guys. Ciao.